Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Quality Talks. We're glad you're here. It is 10 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central European Time. We're just going to wait 1 minute and let everybody gather before we jump in. So make yourselves comfortable, and yeah, we'll get going in just a minute. Excellent. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Once again, my name is Niels Nugtrin. I'm joined here today by Rob Herfkens and Gerben de Haan. So today I have the pleasure of talking to gentlemen. I'll start with introducing Rob. Rob has spent more than 30 years in senior quality leadership positions across Europe, US, and Asia. Most recently, he was Senior Quality Director at DSM. He's led quality transformations across more than 40 sites, redesigning quality functions and quality management systems so that quality becomes a driver of business results. He's now independent, and he's made it his focus to help organizations apply AI in quality space. Joining us as well is Gerben de Haan. He is founder and chief product officer of AlisQI, a leader in quality management software. Gerben brings a technologist lens to this conversation. And so together we're going to talk about what Rob calls the predictive quality manager, how AI and connected data are set to reshape what it means to do quality work, and where that shift is realistically today versus what we can expect a few years out, and what will stay human no matter how far this development goes. So, very interesting and relevant topic. Welcome, gentlemen. Just before we dive into the conversation, some housekeeping. The conversation will last about 45, 50 minutes. For everybody on the call, we'd love to hear from you interactively. So feel free to share chats and questions through the public chat. I will try to fold those into the conversation if they're relevant to the topic at hand. If not, I'll park them and get back to them at the end. We'll have a 5 or 10 minute Q&A session. So that's that. To get us going, would you please drop a chat in, drop us a chat of who you are, what your name is, and where you're joining from. And please let us know if you have any particular interests, anything that we can cover in today's call. We'd love to make sure that we get to all of that if possible. So please just drop your name and your location in the chat, and anything in particular you'd like to learn today. So one other thing I'd like to mention is that we will be handing out 3 books to the people that ask the 3 best questions today. The book is a very interesting book. I can highly recommend it. It's called Irreplaceable: The Art of Standing Out in the Age of Artificial Intelligence by Pascal Bonnet. And that's Rob is holding it up right now. So 3 of those will go out to the people that ask the best questions. That's to kind of drive some energy in this webinar and make sure that everybody is heard. Excellent. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to set the stage a little bit. So my observation is that in the quality realm, quality professionals spend quite a lot of time doing what I like to call busy work. So repetitive administrative tasks, gathering information and data, building reports, capturing quality records, you name it. I think we all kind of understand what I mean by that. So the result is that they're not able to use their full intellect and creativity and experience and aren't in a position to be the most value add that they could be in their organizations. Additionally, quality people tend to be technically oriented just by their background and interests, and are less trained in change management, soft skills, So before we go any further, Rob, I'd love your perspective on what the quality world looks like today. Where does this technical versus soft skills imbalance come from?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Niels. First of all, welcome to everyone. It's nice to see a large group as this, so I'm very happy with that personally. Interesting question, Niels. Before I start, I would like to express that I'm not really an expert on AI. I know enough about it, and mainly in reflection to the quality processes. Because in my workable life, I've always tried to find capacity to deal with all the different quality aspects of quality, all the tasks that we have to deal with. And Niels was already saying something about the skills. From out of history, quality people, hopefully you recognize that quality people are technical trained, know all about root cause analysis, all about validation and things like that, and less trained in the soft skills, how to make the change and get quality on the agenda. And that last part is in my perception, enormous important, because when you cannot get quality on the agenda, who are you as a quality manager and as a quality team? What is your role? What is your task? And that's too limited. So the same time, you see that a lot of time is consumed by all kinds of issues, dealing with complaints, dealing with things that are going wrong in your own organization that you need to follow up. And this also be expected from the organization that you are following it up as a quality organization. So time capacity, budget restraints, too less FTEs to really do the function of quality is always, in my workable life, it was always a challenge.
Excellent. So, what do you think, given this context and this trend that you're seeing, what skills and competencies are most relevant for quality professionals right now, and which of those are starting to change because of AI?
Yeah, in my perception, we talked about the technical skills, we talked about the more soft skills. I think that soft skills will be becoming more and more important. And what do I mean with soft skills? That is related to change management, related to connecting to your stakeholders, have the social interaction with all the people in the organization that are important for making the quality in that organization. And even outside the organization, related to suppliers, related to distributors, related to customers. So the technical skills are important and should be the basics, but the soft skills are becoming more and more important because of AI, because AI can play a role in that perspective very much.
Understood. Do you have any practical examples, Rob, of customers that you see that are starting to apply AI, or what does that look like? How are companies out there engaging with AI in the quality domain?
Yeah, I do see a lot of examples, and that is not always, in my perception, positive, because we are very from out of the quality arena, we are very hesitate to apply AI, to see what it can mean for you, what it can mean to help and support the quality function in your organization. And I understand why we are hesitate, but at the same time, I think it is today very important to really start. And later on in the webinar, we will come back on that. So we need really to start and experience what AI can mean for us, because that will help. That will help a lot by mainly the repetitive tasks that we have as a quality department, or the tasks that are administrative, making reports, do some basic analytics. I think AI can already mean a lot in that perspective for the quality departments.
Interesting. Gerben, what's your view, since we're touching on AI? Maybe give us, actually, if you would, give us a short lay of the land of what AI actually is. How is it? How do you define AI? What kind of tools do you see, and what kind of applications do you see? Just so we're all on the same page as to what we mean when we say AI.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, of course, in the last, 2-3 years or so, we see this rise of generative AI that is allowing us to consume lots and lots of context and find patterns in that and summarize it and do all kinds of suggestions. So that's one part. It's very intriguing. It's offering a lot of new capabilities, but it's not everything. It's probably everything that we are looking at primarily. So we do associate the label AI with Gen AI, but I think in context of quality management and the predictive quality manager, the predictive quality function, we should pay as much attention to more traditional quote unquote AI technologies like machine learning to use all this data that we have. And I think that's something that it lost some of its shine due to the rise of Gen AI, but I think there's a ton of value in there, and we'll probably touch upon some examples on that. But so what machine learning is capable of doing is retrieve data sets or based upon existing data sets, find patterns in there that you can use to classify or predict outcomes, and that's very useful in classifying incoming customer complaints, for instance, and help that in routing that in your operations, but also into classifying it based on severity, things like that. So helping you to guide your workflows. That's an element I think that will already save a lot of time. If you look at the prediction, then you can see what customer complaints or what. Take an example of incoming raw materials, incoming goods. If you have historical data on pass or fail outcome of your production process, and you do include your incoming goods inspection attributes to that, then you can use that to create a model that per production process or step in your production process that allows you to predict whether you'll face problems using that specific batch. So that is something I think that is very, very interesting and is overshadowed by Gen AI. And then on the Gen AI side, of course, it's allowing us to consume text, or it's multimodal, but text is the most common form, of course. Process that and interpret that and use that to create new text. And this is very useful, of course, in analyzing documents. So at AlisQI, we're using that to detect gaps between your operation and the defined processes in your quality procedures. And then as soon as you have these gaps, you have inputs into where to adjust it. We also use it for chat capabilities. So something we're building right now is chat capabilities to not have to consume all the content in your quality procedures, but having a feature, a companion, if you want, that helps you to understand the procedures in context of the process where you are right now and in context of the problems that you're facing right now. So it's that ability to contextualize all the knowledge in your quality management system and use that in a very actionable way rather than having to digest all that yourself. And of course, something that we should not ignore is the governance behind it, because everything you do needs to be grounded in the quality procedures you have. And of course, hallucination is it's both a blessing and a curse. So you need the hallucination to come up with new content, but at the same time, you should make sure that it's not going overboard. It still needs to be grounded. So, and I think that's one of the realizations you see in well, this year, or maybe the last 6 months. I see that coming up more often in discussions I have with quality leaders, this realism that and the reality check they probably have learned the hard way, that AI, of course, is great, provided it is well contained and governed.
Yeah, great, Gerben. I'm a quality professional, and this resonates very well with me, so to say. And the reason why is, in the quality arena, and I hope that also the public will recognize that, we have to deal with a lot of Word documents, text. We have to deal with a lot of data. We have to deal with a lot of analytics that we need to do. And it is becoming more and more repetitive. So again and again, you are doing the same. And when AI can help us with that, that will help us enormous by getting some capacity, free up some capacity to really deal with the specific quality tasks that often of the time will delayed by making all this kind of administrative tasks. So
absolutely.
I'm very happy with this. Yeah.
I think that's something you see across the board. Of course, almost every company we deal with has vacancies out, and for new quality people, because they're overloaded, and if they don't have vacancies out, they're still overloaded, maybe even more because of the lack of budget to hire additional people. So, and I think my ambition as head of product with AlisQI is not necessarily to help quality teams do their work faster. Of course, that is as important, but it's also to enable the rest of the organization to embed quality in their workflows. And so I think if you look at the dynamic within the ISO 9001 and in the broader quality space, basically, then it's been quite a struggle for the last few decades to make sure that quality is truly embedded in every process. So making sure, an example is of course that the document owners are the owners of the process rather than the quality team, and so ownership should be in the line organization, and quality should be managed in the line organization. So my objective is to provide capabilities to the broader organization, not just to the quality team, to embed quality in their processes, make it as efficient and still compliant, of course, as possible, so that the quality leaders can focus on defining the playbook, basically, and the guardrails and the governance, but not on the actual operation and performing each and every quality step as they might do today. So freeing up time, becoming more efficient, yes, but if we only do that for the quality team, I think we missed the point.
Yeah. Good point. And that's why we also started with the remark that you have the technical skills, but also the more soft skills, competences that are needed to make that happen. And that's why AI will change that world of quality, because the competences related to stakeholder management, making the connection with your stakeholders, but also to help them to build in the quality for which they are responsible in their own processes will be more and more important. And when tools like AI and whatever can help us with that, that will be an enormous step for the quality arena. And I hope that we, and that's for the quality arena itself, the quality people itself, that we need to help with that. Need to align with the AI applications, the AI possibilities, not see them as a threat, but see them as an opportunity, exactly in line what you just expressed, Gerben.
Yeah. And so do you see quality people experience this as a threat right now because they might be afraid that it's taking part of their role and they need to, well, upskill if you want? Do you think that's seen as a personal threat?
Yeah, I think so. I think there are two remarks to be made related to this. Yes, they see it as a personal risk for themselves. Do I have my job tomorrow still? And but on the other hand, they also see that, and I absolutely recognize that AI is something that gives you the answer, but is not showing to you how AI is coming up with that answer.
Yeah.
And that in the quality world is very, very important. The validation of AI applications will becoming more and more important because also quality managers need to be able to explain, for instance, to customers or to certification bodies, how does this application come up with that answer? And at the same time, quality managers, I'm coming out of the food safety industry, the food industry, where food safety is really important. Yeah, you cannot allow to make mistakes with data, with making the wrong risk assessment because you have AI has something on the background not made in the right way, to say. So because of that, quality people are hesitant to start with AI applications. So I can really understand that.
All right, so that was an amazing conversation, and there's a lot to unpack here. So we talked a little bit about how AI is an emerging field, how there's a risk association with it, but an opportunity association with it. We talked about how it's fundamentally a different kind of technology than we're used to using, right? AI is probabilistic, right? And in quality, in the quality domain, we favor determinism, right? Things that are provable and validated, and you can, to Rob's point, where you can understand how results were yielded rather than just what the results were. So, and then you mentioned sort of this hesitancy from in the adoption by quality professionals, on the one hand perceived as a job risk. On the other hand, of course, it's an opportunity, right, to get out of busy work and to focus more on value add activities. So a lot of sort of there's a lot of sort of seeming oppositional things in here that are interesting to unpack. I'd like to go to the sort of risk versus opportunity axis first. A lot of times I see that this discussion, first of all, it's a little bit of a sort of an elephant in the room discussion. Not a lot of people feel very comfortable admitting that they're hesitant to adopt AI and the reason why. But people, but insofar as I do see this conversation happening, it always seems to me like it's a very black and white discussion. Like it's either a risk or an opportunity. But it seems to me that it can be both things at the same time, right? And it's really just about context. Context matters. It matters how you use AI. It matters what your goals are, your organizational goals are, and your personal goals are. So I'll go back to you, Rob. Maybe you can kind of unpack that for us. Where, do you see this as a tension that needs to be addressed, and if so, how? How would you recommend to quality professionals to go about AI in their day-to-day jobs?
Yeah, good question, Niels, and that's not easy to answer. Let me say it like this, because also when you're looking at different organizations, when you're looking at quality, the maturity of quality is different. It's not always in the same, in different organizations in the same way. So it depends also on where you stand with quality. That's one thing that you always have to look at. And also in line with your quality strategy, what are the steps that you take with quality in the coming 3 to 5 years? It's important that you are also thinking about what can IT or AI, how can I build it in? How can it help me? Because AI is there to stay. It will stay, and it will development will go very fast. So you have to deal with it. And the applications nowadays, even in Excel, are already AI applications available. So just think about what are the next steps for quality in my organization. And think about then, how can AI help me with that? And ask help if you do not understand AI is sufficient or good enough. But start asking these questions and do it with an open mind. Because AI is not taking your job. No, AI is asking to develop your skills and competences in a different way.
Right.
So just start with it.
Okay.
Experiment with that, and then see how that will evolve. But also think about not only for tomorrow and today, but also in the coming years, what you think that should happen.
Yeah, excellent answer. Appreciate that. Gerben, did you want to add anything?
I think to that point of it being a threat and an opportunity at the same time, of course, I think ultimately that boils down to how you want to grow in your role, and or not necessarily grow, but how you see the role changing in the future. And I think, as Rob mentioned earlier, stakeholder management is getting it has always been important, but it's getting more important as quality becomes more of a strategic differentiator for businesses. So I think many quality managers struggle, but acknowledge that it needs to be a boardroom topic, but struggle to really get it on the table and don't have a seat at the table there. And so I think as a quality professional, if you're ambitious and want to grow and improve the quality operation in your company, then you should indeed invest in your ability to do the stakeholder management, and you can probably find the time for that by the automation that AI and other technologies offer to offload some of the repetitive reporting and analysis tasks to your agents and automated tools, so that you have the time to develop your soft skills, your stakeholder management, but still have the insights, maybe probably even better insights, or presumably better insights and more insights than you had before. So it will change the role. I think then it's an opportunity for you to grow, for the company to grow. If it's a threat, by all means, if you are not willing to adopt that, because then you're creating these reports and dashboards yourself, still manually wasting a lot of time there, and not having the capacity indeed to take courses on stakeholder management and communication and business case development and everything. And that's, I think, these are key to make this a strategic topic and to make quality a differentiator for your business in your market. Okay,
great. So just in summary, I think, Rob, you're saying just embrace it, right? Be pragmatic about it. Just see how it can help you in your day-to-day, experiment with it, and and then learn from it and build your own position. Gerben, I think you're also saying something similar. Just AI is here to stay. It will change everybody's field, not just quality management, by the way, but almost any field imaginable, it will change. So resistance is futile. Let's embrace it and just be smart about it and use it to your benefit.
And Niels, maybe if I may, one addition.
Yeah, sure.
It's also, I think, very practical to ask your current IT suppliers, because
Yeah.
most likely you all have IT solutions in your house.
Yep.
Ask them what already is being done on AI development in that application.
Right.
And then you will also find out what the possibilities are, and you can also maybe help even these kind of IT suppliers to develop further in what you want.
Yeah, that's
So,
also a great point, because I know from an AlisQI perspective, Gerben loves to communicate directly with customers. He loves it when he gets asked, what are you doing on AI? It's an opportunity for us to float our strategy and to get feedback from the market. There's value on both sides. So that's a really good point, Rob. I want to, we've got a flood of questions, which I absolutely love. Thank you, audience, for, bearing with us. I wanted to kind of follow that conversation to its logical end. I'm going to create some time for answering questions here. The questions are very practical in nature. So what I read from this is that people are actually embracing AI. They're looking just for practical direction on, what's out there, how do I do it, etc. So I'm going to fire off a couple of questions. I'd like, short, succinct answers from you both, gentlemen, with some recommendations. So let me start with this one from Kevin. How can AI help us more easily take advantage of intimidating amount of historical data we've amassed to better manage our global lessons learned process? Gerben, that is right in your sweet spot.
Yes, absolutely. How we envision AI to be useful indeed is to process all that historical data and to make that available for indeed lessons learned, and to basically help you determine the next best action. So, I think, Niels, you asked for short questions, but please allow me to give a bit of context. So, how we look at this trend, and our ambition here is to help you get to better decisions faster. And so traditionally, software was focusing on processing the data. So you have events in the physical world happening. These events emit data. Data is transformed into information, and that information is then ultimately used by people to make decisions, and these decisions will have their effect in the physical world again. And so traditionally, software was focusing on the data and the information steps in there. So converting raw data into dashboards and charts and things like that. So still pretty retroactive and pretty lazy when it comes to offloading the actual decision making to the users. And we see the new technology as an opportunity to contribute more in the decision-making phase. And ultimately, that's where the value is found. The decisions will drive the physical world again. And so when it comes to lessons learned, and there's a lot of great stuff in there to help people make better decisions. So we want to, as AlisQI, we want to take a role there and be a companion in your decision-making based on all this data. So we have built technology where we're currently applying that to the standard operating procedures and all your documentation, but soon we'll also apply that same technology to all the quality incidents and the CAPA actions and all the historical data indeed, to use that and to digest your lessons learned. So ideally, and this is what we're aiming for, is that wherever you are in whatever process or whatever problem or context you are in, there will be this solve button in your QMS that helps you to get to the very best next action based on all your lessons learned and the context of the problem and the process you are in right now. And I think we're on the right path to that. So all this historical data, we are able to digest that, to define your patterns in there, and then to basically query that information with a given context of a given problem. So it's a matter of time that we'll build this and make this available within our platform. And I know for sure that a lot of other vendors are doing similar things. So the historical data will become even more valuable. Today, it's probably valuable from a system of record and a traceability and compliance perspective. Soon it will be valuable from a continuous improvement and a lessons learned perspective. So yeah, I think it's if you don't already have a lot of data, please start collecting data as soon as you can right now, and dusting off some old Excel files or databases you may have in backups, because this data will be golden and very important in this day and age.
Right. Yeah. Data is the new oil, right? They're saying.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, what I hear you saying is that there's this technology is currently already, with the current state of AI technology, it's already possible to kind of convert your system of record to a system of knowledge almost, right? And you're working on that. So excellent. Thank you for that. I would like to move to the next question, which is, you mentioned validation of AI. Do you have any more information on this? I'm not sure whether, so I think, Rob, it was you that talked about validation. Is that right? I'm not sure if you said validation of AI or validation by AI, but maybe you can kind of react to this question.
Yeah, and maybe Gerben can also say something about that from out of his perspective. But I'm coming out of the biotechnology industry, and there you see that validation of IT applications are very important, so that you really understand what kind of data is put on the table on which you are making decisions.
Right.
And based on that, you need to validate the systems behind. And I do not know if AI can help with validation of that kind of systems, but what I meant is that you need to validate these systems.
Right. Yep.
And in the industry that I worked for, it was very common to have every IT system being validated.
Right. Right. And this also links to the FDA-related question, and it really kind of boils down to the probabilistic nature of AI versus determinism, right? So, Gerben, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think this is one of the million-dollar questions that the industry is currently trying to solve: how to deal with AI in a validated context. And I think this touches upon the hallucination topic and the degree that we are able to stomach indeed a non-deterministic engine. And I think so. What we are doing internally is validating the outcome of our AI features to assess the quality. And if there's a new model coming out, or we want to evaluate OpenAI versus Anthropic or versus Gemini, then we are building a set of inputs, and of course the output comes from the LLM, and we need to assess the quality of that. And eventually, or essentially, that's the validation process. You have some inputs and you have some predefined outputs, and you want to match whether that's in sync and whether that indeed can be leveraged or deployed in production at scale. And I think so what traditionally you knew 1 + 1 always equals 2, and there's no other acceptable answer than 2, so the validation would fail if the answer was different. Now we'll see that the output, not of course for these numeric calculations, but for more textual stuff like the chatbot on your SOPs, there's different ways to phrase the exact same solution. And so we should not look at the exact phrasing and match that, but at the intent of the summary or the answer. And if the intent is exactly the same, and it does include the references to the document and the chunks of documents that were used in generating that answer, then you can still confidently say, okay, this is a valid outcome of this prompt, although there may not be a single character in the output that is identical to the previous answer. So what we'll see there is another LLM or AI assessing the meaning and the intent of the message that you see, and if that is in line, then you can perceive and accept this as a valid outcome. So, and I think this is something I know that the FDA issued new procedures and statements on this. So I'm not an expert in that topic myself, but I know that the industry is moving towards an AI, an open mindset to deploy AI. Of course, it still always needs to be grounded, and you as an organization remain responsible. So it's not by no means you'll be able to, and you should not want to hand off responsibility to the AI as such. You as an organization remain responsible for the validation, but the FDA is getting more open and will tolerate it more. And I know I saw this question by Gaetano earlier in this webinar about there is this case where a company was fined quite heavily because of the use of AI, and they didn't take the responsibility. So they stated, well, this is what the AI came up with, or maybe they didn't even state it, but they accepted it as valid and as the holy truth without being critical to it. And I think that's where the fines came from, not necessarily from applying AI, but applying it without the governance and without the critical mindset that essentially makes the quality profession.
Right. Okay, excellent. So I think in summary, right, what you see in the US at least is sort of more open mind towards employing AI in general. I do think, right, to your point, Gerben, I think with regards to validation, ultimately it's an accountability question, right? And you need to have a deterministic causal chain in your validation process. You can use AI to support that causal chain, right? To help interpret outcomes, etc. But the causal chain itself that leads to the end result of validation needs to be deterministic, and
exactly.
And you need to accept, an organization needs to accept full accountability for the outcomes. There can be no deferring to AI in that process.
Yeah.
Just to make one more point on this is it's a complicated conversation, and when we talk about AI and validation, because there's different angles. There's using AI to validate, a product, directly. So there's putting AI directly in that causal chain of your product validation, and then there's using AI as a supporting tool for validation. Those are two different angles that allow for more degrees of freedom.
Yeah. Niels, when I talk about validation from out of my food world, then we always talk about data validation.
Right.
So not text or whatever, but really data and the systems behind. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Perfect. All right. So one more, and then resume the conversation, and I'll get back to the remaining questions in the Q&A. So this one's for you, Gerben. Would AI be able to differentiate between non-conformance, DFI, and a risk?
So I think it will be able to differentiate it, and but it will also be able to relate them and to use one input to. So let me make this a bit more concrete. So how we look at the QMS of the future basically is call it the immune system of the organization. So you have a non-conformance, which is the disease in this analogy, and then you have that non-conformance and that customer complaint or a product deviation or a process deviation, doesn't matter. So something you're dealing with, and then you want to solve that incident at hand, but you also want to improve the organization and prevent that from happening again. And if you look at modern day quality management, of course, that evolves around risk management. So identifying the possible failure modes in your process and product, and define the severity and the frequency, and derive the priority, and then define countermeasures and preventative measures to prevent that from happening. So if you look at it from this analogy of the immune system, then every incident happening you should come out of that stronger. What we are currently playing around with in our R&D is to see, well, what can we do to identify a gap between your incident history and your risk registry? Are there any risks that you missed, any blind spots in your risk registry that you need to backfill, or are there any risks that were misclassified when it comes to the severity and frequency? Because from your risk or your incident log, you may see that you were underestimating the frequency of a certain risk, and so that will make your risk registry come alive. Basically, every non-conformance will be an input for this self-healing is a bit overstated, but this self-improving mechanism of the autoimmune system, so that your risk registry comes alive. Every incident will trigger reevaluations. It will ask the process owner or the area owner to reassess them and come out of that. So in long story short, it will not just differentiate them, it will use them to improve your operation and to make sure that your risk registry becomes more of a predictor of the true risks and their frequency and their the controls that you have in place.
Great, perfect. So there's still a few questions remaining. I'm going to get back to those in the Q&A. I'd like to resume the thread of the conversation with you both. So where we left off was that AI has some interesting capabilities, is here to stay, will change quality management. I think we established that the smart move is to embrace it constructively and pragmatically, but keep stay diligent about how and where you use it. Rob, in a previous conversation that you and I had, you mentioned this concept of AI kind of shifting us more to a predictive quality manager mindset, right? So essentially, kind of taking the quality professional out of the rote tasks, giving them tools that allow them to shift from a reactive to a more proactive orchestrating mindset. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, indeed, we discussed that part, and what you see is that nowadays, too much we are firefighting. Based on things that are going wrong, we need to act, and the quality department is to be expected to act on that and find solutions, etc., and learn from that. But still, you're looking backwards. But what you would like to have is that you are looking forwards, that you are going to use all the data, what also Gerben explained, what more and more is possible, use all the data to be more proactive towards the future, so that you have insight in risks, so that you have that you are able to determine the mitigation actions before the risk really happened. That's the task of the quality that you are making sure that the quality is according to what we have agreed on without really great incidents in the market, etc. So are able to look forwards instead from act on what happened yesterday and the days before. Yeah, that makes a quality manager's life much more easier. And that's the name of the game. And there AI comes in. Also in the way that Gerben explained, that all the data, when you use it in the right way, you can use it as a prediction. And that's, if you can make that happen, then we are very happy in the quality arena. I can say that.
So, Gerben, I know you have some thoughts on how to practically implement this. So why don't you share those?
Yeah, so I think first off, for me, the role or the label that we put to this role of the predictive quality manager, it doesn't mean that the predictive quality manager simply follows predictions that come out of a black box. It's more of a mindset change, and it's looking at your historical data with the AI and machine learning capabilities, and have a continuous self-improving process in place that will allow you to continuously reassess both your definition of what good looks like, but also continuously assess the gaps between your this ideal state and the current operation, and continuously improve that, so that you are basically in control and can tell which problems will arise with what frequency. You won't be able to tell that they are popping up next Tuesday, but you know that if problems arise, these and that are the problems, and we deliberately chose not to implement these or that controls because of this and that reason. I think if you get to that state, you're doing better than 99% of your peers. So, getting to your question on how we are moving towards that nirvana or ideal state of quality operations. So one of the things we're currently doing right now is building a machine learning pipeline that is allowing us to take each and every data set that we have, so from your risks and complaints to your process deviations and even quality measurements, and then assess, okay, this historical data set. So I think it was Kevin that asked about this intimidating volume of historical data. So there's a lot of data already, but not all of that data might be eligible to use within with machine learning. So there should be some patterns in there. So we're building a pipeline to assess whether these historical data sets are useful in a predictive machine learning context, and then if so, what kind of capabilities we can apply to that data, whether it's classification or prediction or outlier detection, and then spin up machine learning models automatically based on that data, and then you can use that for classification, for instance. So to automate your flow, if a new incident comes in, you can auto classify it on the kind of incident it is, the kind of severity that you can derive from it, to route your workflows accordingly. And then, as I mentioned, the connection with the risk registries, to continuously update your risk registries, flag blind spots, flag risks that are appearing more frequently than you anticipating, so that you can improve there and add additional controls and measures where needed. And then, of course, building the body of knowledge to help your workforce to take the next best action, or the very best next action better, so that regardless where they are, in which process, in which situation, whether it's the happy flow or an edge case, they always can consult all of your knowledge and know, for instance, well, maybe you have a problem and you can see, okay, we had this same problem 8 times in the last 12 months, and these were the actions we applied then. This worked, this didn't work. So if you have all that knowledge, and then you can digest that within a few seconds and say, okay, in similar cases, this is what helped us and what got us to rework this product and to get it in spec again. Then you're saving a ton of time, reducing this feedback cycle at the shop floor without your people having to call your quality engineers or your quality managers, because all this knowledge is in there and it's trained. You have the safeguards and the governance in place, that it's all grounded, so it won't go overboard and hallucinating all kinds of recipe changes or what have you. So that's what we are actively building right now, and what we think will help us to redefine the role of quality management software in this operation, to become no longer the system of record, but a companion actually to help you solve these problems, and to getting back to the topic of the predictive quality manager, it helps you to be in control. So problems will still happen, and you don't know when, but you do know what kind of problems, and you do know their severity, and you can act upon that immediately if they do happen, because you know what was coming up. I think that's what we are. That's the North Star that we are chasing.
Maybe a small feedback on you, Gerben. I hope that you also mean that we would have the mindset that we would like to prevent problems in the end. I understand the phase in which you are now, that you would like, when something happens, that you can act quicker than nowadays, learn from it, etc., the way you explained it. But I hope that we can looking forwards based on, with the mindset that we could prevent the issues.
Yeah, sure.
Then quality really adds value to the organization.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think with the continuous risk evaluation, you know all the potential failure modes and can prevent what you want to prevent. And you may accept some issues because the price of preventing them might be too high in giving the severity and giving the frequency you may expect. Yeah. But I think that's the ideal state, that your risk registry is a bit of a predictor where you can say, okay, this will happen, but only once every blue moon. So we are not investing in the measures right now. We are instead investing in preventing some other stuff that has either a high severity or a much higher frequency.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks for that, gentlemen. We have a few minutes left and some questions left. So I'm going to ask you to be very short in your answers, like 30 seconds if you can, and then we'll do a final wrap up. So let me see what we have here. So this is a question from Mikolai. So do you foresee an internal AI engine for text translation with input fields rather than relying on browser-built translation capabilities? And he goes on to explain what the limitation is, right, that it's contextless. Any thoughts? So this is a technology question, Gerben, any thoughts?
So I don't think vendors will build translation capabilities themselves, but rely on dedicated translation models and services built externally. I think vendors will build domain-aware capabilities in translation. Of course, being able to understand the domain will help to get to better translations. But the investment of building a translation engine yourself, I think, is too high. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see capabilities where we can add context to the translations, but not replicating it as such.
Right, that makes total sense. Trying to remain as lean as possible while simultaneously being prepared for organizational growth and development. Can AlisQI be leveraged to assist creating standardized documents such as procedures, forms, work instructions, the need to efficiently produce new documents or modify existing documents while remaining available for physical data collection or employee engagement? I guess this is another question for you, Gerben.
Mm-hmm. So what we are currently testing with a handful of customers is an ability to rewrite quality documents like procedures and work instructions and optimize them for the two primary audiences of any document. The first one is the actual readers of the document, the internal people on the shop floor or wherever in the organization. So they need to have documents that are as accessible and as readable as possible, because that describes how the operation should run. But the secondary audience, of course, is the auditor. So the documents also need to comply to all the requirements of the norm and being able to meet the to pass the audit. So we're building a rewrite right now that takes the substance of your process and your procedure and converts that into something that is optimized for readability and compliance. A logical next step would be to write documents from the data that you have, but we're not there yet. So we're taking the rewrite as the current state, creating new documents from scratch. Might be a logical next step, but we still need to figure out, okay, what to base that on, because that gets back to the hallucination and the groundedness of your documents. We need to have something to base this on. Otherwise, we may go overboard and provide you with documents that look very legit and convincing, but may totally miss the point. So we haven't solved that one yet.
Got it. All right, excellent. Well, I think there might be a few questions still left unanswered, but we will take those questions offline and share answers with you as part of the the offline evaluation process on our side. So apologies if we didn't get to your question, but you can expect an answer offline. I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for this very good conversation. Lots of useful insights. I think both sort of long-term strategic sort of outlook, but also lots of practical hands-on advice for people that that deal with these challenges and questions on a day-to-day basis. So thanks for your time, Rob, and thanks for your time, Gerben. To the audience, so we will be sending out 3 books to the 3 best questions that we received, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you very much for your participation, and we hope to see you at our next quality talk. Thank you very much.